Hello, I want to talk to you today about automatically create Teams meetings and automatically install meeting apps to this. And finally, write and display some custom data with it. First, something about me, but next, something about the demo. What's the demo about in terms of a scenario? Yeah, on why to do this automatically. Yeah, think about something happens in your organization, like a customer calls, something goes wrong with your product chain or with your delivery chain or something like that. And this might take urgent or lower action. And depending on what happens there, you might have some responsible persons, and then you can automatically invite them to a meeting. And to make it a bit simpler, and first tell you that I'm not cheating, showing you my calendar for today, nothing in there. And then at the second glance, showing you a very innovative thing and good old console application. And then let's use it. And kick it off. So the first thing happens in the back, you cannot see, is something around authentication, because I do it interactively here. So give me some seconds. So for the first thing, what happens is I will create a meeting, so-called an event in the calendar of one organizer. This is me, my test person. So here you get an event ID. But with that alone, I'm not really lucky. The second thing is what I get with this event is I get a so-called join URL. This is, from your Teams meeting as well. And with this join URL, in the third step, I already can get a different object called online meeting. And with that, and this is what I really need, because when I have an event and share this event, then I have two events, one for the organizer, one for at least one participant, or three for additional participants, and so on. But what I need is a single meeting where I will later install the app in. And this is, in fact, the chat. So we are talking now, from now on, either about the chat ID or, and this is here in brackets, about the meeting ID. Yeah, this is the same thing. Though this is now, we have a meeting with two participants in the background. Hard-coded, but doesn't matter. Now, we want to install an app. This app is available in our app catalog. Yeah? And every app has an app ID, which you can grab from the manifest. You might have seen this if you ever created a Teams app, no matter if it's meeting ID, meeting app, or whatever. But this app is valid over tenants. But what we need is get the tenant app ID. Yeah? And this is now here installed. And the third step is that we install this app not only to the meeting, but to the tab, which is shown to the meeting. And we will see this in a minute in our meeting ID. Fourth step and last step is where we install some custom data to some custom data storage. That's all from my console application. Now let's see the results. First, here's our meeting. Looks pretty fine. We recognize the meeting subject. We can open this in a preview. It's not that stalled, but we see we have something custom here. You might have never seen such a tab. There is our custom tab. Takes a while, but this is our hard-coded data here. If we join that app and start that off, because you might know there is a pre-meeting, in-meeting, post-meeting experience. So we can also make this only available in a running meeting or before a meeting. Here we once have, but I did it all the time. Yeah, and here we once again have our customer opens in the side panel, and we have our information. Yeah, looking back to the different processes I originally told you, can be anything. Can be something about the customers, can be something about the product, whatever happened before, and where the context comes from. Last not least, where comes the data from? Where's my mouse? Lost it a bit. There it is. I simply used to use the simple Azure table for this. Here's an old thing from January. I refresh it. Here we have our data from today. Yeah, the old hard-coded data is still the same because it's hard-coded in the code, but the code timestamp is clearly from now. And here we also have our meeting ID or chat ID, however you prefer to call it. And that's the result of it. So flipping back to my slides and show you how it works. First, quickly the architecture once again. Yeah, so I use a console app. This can be any kind of web service, a bot, whatever. But this is the acting thing here that first creates a Teams meeting. Second, it installs the custom app. And third, it writes the custom data, yeah, depending on the on the triggering thing, yeah, whatever happened before. And last not least, the custom app is able to display that custom data. That's all I showed you and is relevant for this small but effective sample. Okay, some code. Much lines, but easy thing here. Create a Teams meeting. We have a lot of payload here above, an organizer, at least one attendee, the time zone, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the main line of code only is using graph.net SDK here. It's simply to create an event and post that payload to one user. And that's it. Next thing I did in one step during the demo is I need to get the chat or meeting ID. Yeah? And here I have the join web URL. And with that, I'm querying, coming from the events, now I'm querying the online meetings, yeah, for the users. And with the join URL, then in the result, I get the chat ID. And with that chat ID, I come where I want to install my app later on. But first, I have to identify it. Above, we see an extract from a Teams manifest. We have a manifest version 1.14, but that doesn't matter here. But here, we have a global ID for that application. If I, for instance, develop an app or develop a sample and you download it and start it, you have the same ID for the moment. And that doesn't matter so far. But when you put it to your app catalog, we'll get a different app catalog ID. And this is what I'm doing here later on. So I'm searching for something with an external ID of EC1 blah blah. And then I get an app catalog ID. And this is what I return here as an app ID. And this app ID, I install the next step to my chats. On my chat, installed apps, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and it is what I have here as a parameter. Yeah, and here that's the also known values. Yeah? So the chat ID, you also can say meeting ID to it, and the app ID, you can also say app catalog ID to it, just for your understanding. Okay, quick thing about the data. As I said, I used the nature table, and I made it really simple. Yeah, you might use it in production. What I'm doing here, quickly, I use the meeting ID as a key because it is the key more or less, and I use my custom ID as a row key as well. So row key, partition key. Sorry, flipping back. This is what I want to. Yeah, the row and partition key for this pose parameters. And then last not least, the opposite side in the meeting app, how to get all that stuff back. Yeah, I get the ID. This is what I was showing. I get the name, the email, and the phone, return it, and yeah, show it in a really simple, yeah, not fancy HTML part. But this was not my case to ping out the to put out the HTML things, but simply the process, how I can write and get back, and how I can connect a backend process and the front-end process that, like a meeting ID, to show this. Yeah, and this is what you can see in my sample. For all of you who are saying, "Oh my God, this is C#." Oops, once again, I forgot one thing to mention, but not really important here. But yeah, to flipping to my last slide, I'll say, hey, this is C# and so on. This sample comes in 2 flavors. So I said nearly the same part. Also here in NodeJS realized 2 blog posts about this and 2 samples in the GitHub PnP repository. You have one QR code here, and when you jump to this, you will get to all these links here. They are all connected. So that's from my side.